lust? As soon as the sense object comes in front of us, immediately the desire to obtain and enjoy it overwhelmingly, it controls us. So Krishna is saying, this is your enemy, Arjuna. And Arjuna is seeking this question. Arjuna began this section by asking the question that even without desire, when one is engaged in sin, although one is situated in knowledge, even aware that what are the consequences, isn't it? The person who steals, who robs, who conducts some kind of burglary, is he not aware? If he is caught, what will be the punishment? Is he aware or is he not aware? He is aware. So, but still, he is as if he is pushed, he is forced to perform that act. So Arjuna is asking, anichchan api varshneya. Anichcha means that without the desire or without the intent. And what is that invisible force? Which prayukta, yukta means which is, engaged in. Prayukta means which is forcibly engaged. So what is that force? Atha kena prayuktoyam. And what it impels? Papam charati purusha. This invisible force which engages me in the sinful act. How? Anichchan api varshneya. Although I do not have the desire, I do not have the intent, I do not have the inclination to engage in such sinful act. Baladeva niyodita. There is some plan. There is some force which is pushing me to do that. And Krishna is beginning to answer. Krishna says that this desire for sense enjoyment or this lust is the most formidable enemy. And it is born from the mode of passion. In the 37th verse, Krishna answered that it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born from the contact of the material mode of passion. So what is that influence that pushes one to act? Niyojisha. So that means the stimulation is somewhere else. The stimulation to act is not in the mind, but it appears in the mind. Are you with me? Samajh mein aa raha hai? Because it is anichcha. One does not have the desire. Ichcha means desire. Anichcha means that without desire, one is forced. One is forced to act. So what is that influence or what is that stimulation that forces one to act? So that stimulation is where? That stimulation is somewhere else. And where is the stimulation coming from? The mode of passion. And how does the mode of passion act? When the sense objects come in contact with the senses, there is a great urge to enjoy it. That is the beginning of lust. That is why Krishna is saying it is born from the mode of passion. So, and Prabhupada says that Arjuna's question is very sanguine. Anyone found out what is sanguine? Sanguine, you see? Study, please study. I am going very slowly. In 1 week, we are hardly taking 2 verses. So I would request that please read the commentary of Srila Prabhupada at least few times. Prabhupada says Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Yeah. Why? Because Arjuna wants to find a solution. How to conquer lust. But are we thinking like that? Are we thinking that we want to conquer lust? So we are conquered by lust. So in Bhagavad Gita, see what is the practicality of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling us how to win over our eternal enemies. This solution no one in the world has. Can anyone give you this solution? No one. Here Krishna is very, in a detailed way, diagnosing how the lust acts. And we discussed that whatever you try, you cannot win over lust. Normally, if you have to win over your opponent, your enemy, you have heard Samadam Danda Bhed. There are 4 ways of winning over an opponent or an enemy. What is Sam? Sam is you negotiate with it. Can you negotiate with lust? That one time I will give you the opportunity, from next town you shut up. Will it work like that? It will not work. Can you bribe? That okay, I will not fulfill you, but I will do something else. Will it be satisfied? No. You cannot create dissension, nor you can punish. Can you punish lust? No. So all that is available, all the ammunition which is available to be able to win over the opponent, nothing will work with lust. That is why Krishna is saying that it is the greatest enemy. Krishna said that Maha Shanno Mahapapam Vedhi Enam Hi Vairinam. That it is, which is all devouring, sinful enemy of this world. So why it cannot be win over? Because everyone is trying to satisfy the lust. And the Shastra says that Na jatu kama kama nam upabhegena samyati havisha Krishna vartameva bhuya eva bhivardate. In simple terms, if you supply butter to fire, so lust is also compared to fire. So if you add butter in fire, what will be the outcome? Will the fire be terminated? It will further be enhanced. So what is the solution to terminate the fire? No. Simple. Don't put butter. Don't stop feeding it. And in the last section, we discussed that there are 3 levels. How the lust works. Very interesting how the lust works. It covers our intelligence. And what are the 3 levels or 3 layers of coverings? Like the smoke which covers the fire. So that is the beginning stage. Human life. Human life where we can remove this covering of lust very easily. Then the second was the mirror which is covered by dust. It is more deeper. But by spiritual practices, it can still be cleared. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the chanting of the holy names. Cheto Darpan Marjan. So whatever misconceptions, whatever false conceptions we have in the mirror of our mind, it can be removed through the powerful process of chanting. And the third level was as the embryo is covered by the womb. That is very dangerous. That is very helpless. When the knowledge is completely covered, it's a helpless place. Like the trees. So Krishna is giving a solution here. And Krishna is first describing the characteristics. That why lust is most dangerous enemy? Because it covers the pure consciousness of the living entity. It covers the 40th verse that we were discussing. Last time we just started with the verse, but we did not discuss it. So it Jnanam Avritya Dehinam. 40th verse says, Indriyani Manobuddhir Asya Adhishtanam Uchyate Eter Vimohoyati Esha Jnanam Avritya Dehinam. So Dehinam means the embodied. In the second chapter, Krishna has already said, Dehino asmin yatha dehi. So Dehi is what? Which is inside the Deha. So what the lust does, it covers Avritya Jnanam of the Dehi, that it's knowledge that it is the soul. So that is why no one can detect what he is. Why? Because there is the covering of lust. Unless and until we remove this covering of lust, we will never ever be able to realize that who we are. That is why everyone is bewildered. People have this information that we are not this body, we are soul, but not the realization. Why? Because the realization can never happen unless and until this covering is removed. And lust is the symbol of ignorance. When knowledge is covered, what is left? Ignorance. And it makes the living entity come under the influence of wrath or anger. So very interestingly, how to stop feeding the lust. So I will take this 40th verse. We'll continue. We'll do the Mangalacharan and then start the discussion. 40th verse is Indriyani manobuddhi asyadhishtanam uchyate eter vimoyati esha jnanam avritya dehina. The senses, the mind and the intelligence are the sitting places of the lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So actually, we are all in this situation. The senses, the mind and the intelligence. So Krishna is saying that what are the repositories or what are the dwelling places of the lust? How do we function? We function through our senses. We function through our mind. And we also take decisions through our intelligence. So in all these three areas, lust is present. Lust is the sitting place. Sitting place means it is the repository. It has overtaken this places. Like supposingly you have to win your enemy. An enemy has taken over your capital. Enemy has taken over your army. Enemy has taken over your treasury. Then what can you do? Can you win over him? Can you even dare to oppose him? Because you have nothing left. How will you resist? How will you fight him? Because whatever was your resource is already belonging to him. So here, Krishna is saying that this is the adhishthanam. Adhishthanam means the sthan, you understand, is a place. And adhishthanam means that which has been captured. That has been already captured. So lust has already captured all these places. And how it acts? It covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Jnanam avritya dehinam. And what it does? Eter vimohyati esha. Vimohati, you understand? Moha. Moha means illusion. So this illusion is coming because the knowledge is covered. Okay, so we will discuss this and we will first have the invocation. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Nabha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada begins the purport by saying that the enemy has captured the different strategic position in the body of the condition. So, as I compared that if a formidable king, he goes to the other side, like the demons and the devils, the demons and the demigods, the demons and the demigods, they are always at war. So what the demons are trying? The demons are always trying to capture the capital of the demigods. And they always try to capture it. And supposingly the demons they capture the capital. What is the capital of Indra? Anyone knows? What is the capital city of Indra? Huh? Amravati. Yes, Amravati. And he captures Kuber. Who is Kuber? Treasurer. All the resources, all the money is captured. And he also captures Kartikeya. Who is Kartikeya? Chief Commander. So similarly, Prabhupada is saying the enemy has captured different strategic position in the body of the conditioned soul. What is it? The senses, the mind, and the intelligence. How? There is a very nice analogy which is given by our acharyas. He says that intelligence is like the capital. Our intelligence is like the capital because intelligence is involved in taking decisions. Whatever decisions that we take, it is deliberated by the intelligence, whether to act or not to act. And senses are like the provinces. So intelligence is like the capital. And senses is like the provinces. And mind is like the city. So the senses, how the senses work? Senses work through the knowledge and the working of senses. So the sense objects for the senses are sound. I will mention this one. So the sense objects, from where it begins, everybody. So one is the first sense object is sound. And where it affects? Yes. Second sense object is form. Rupam. Rup kahan se impact aata hai? Eyes. Then taste from the tongue. We always want to, the tongue is always demanding to have something tasty. And smell, that is nose, and touch, which is skin. So these are like the provinces. समझते हैं ना? सिटी के साथ क्या होता है? प्रोविंस होता है. हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? जिला. वो है बहुत सारे जिला होते हैं. So what it does, it nourishes the city, and the city is compared to the mind, and the capital is the intelligence. And where is this capital being ruled now? It is ruled by lust. So what the lust does, it bewilders the jivas. So it is like a lion. Lion is also a king. So if you have to control the lion, can you control the lion? Can you normally control the lion? But you have seen in circus. How many of you have seen circus? कभी देखा जीवन में सर्कस टीवी पे या लाइव देखा आपने? तो सर्कस में सबसे जो अट्रैक्टिव शो होता है वो क्या होता है? हाँ, लास्ट में रखते हैं, इसलिए रखते हैं कोई चला ना जाए. तो उसमें व्हाट डू यू सी? दैट देयर इज वन स्मॉल मैन. इज ही कैरिंग सम मशीन गन इन हिज हैंड? नो. उसके हाथ में क्या होता है? एक छोटा सा विप होता है. चाहे वो हंटर होता है, चाहे वो स्टिक होता है काम. एंड देयर आर हाउ मेनी लाइन्स inside the ring? How many lions are there? More than one. 2, 4, 6, 8, कितने सारे lions होते हैं. And that one man, single man, small man, he has a stick, and what he does, he terrorizes each lion. देखा है ना आपने? And what he does, he makes a ring which is having fire. देखा? That is the ring which is having fire, and the fire is burning. And what he does with the stick, he tells the lion to come and jump. Isn't it? And if the lion refuses, what he does? Does he beat the lion with the stick? No. वो क्या करता है स्टिक से? इशारा करता है. He does only the indication. And if the lion does not agree, what he does, he spats the stick just beside the lion. He does not beat the lion. देखा है आपने? He just spats the stick beside the lion. और lion क्या करता है? जैसे ही वो डंडा बगल में पड़ता है, तुरंत जंप. देखा है नहीं देखा? So similarly, that is the remedy our Acharya gives to tame the lust, which is as compared to the lion. So how he does, this is very interesting. When the lion is captured and it is put into cage, how it reacts? How the lion will react? It will, give so much of roaring. That is the roar of the lion, as if it will demolish that cage, which is. He will push. He will roar, he will cry, he will make all effort. But what happens? First day he makes 100% effort, but he is not able to come out. Next day the effort is 100%. No, the effort comes down. The effort is not even 50%. Next day, third day, how much is the effort? Not even 25%. You know why? Anyone knows why? What knowing? He is an animal. How can he know? He only knows one thing, that I am the king. And everyone should obey me. But now I am being put into cage. You know how the effort goes down? Because he is not fed. First few days, the ring master does not feed the lion. So what happens? With hunger, the energy or the strength of the lion down. And after 2-3 days, it cannot even make any sound. Because there is no energy inside, no food. And then the ringmaster comes after 3 days. And what it does, it opens the ring. It opens the cage. And with the stick, he pushes the lion inside the ring. And the lion is very weak. He's so weak that he cannot even open his eyes. And what the ringmaster does, the ringmaster beats the stick beside the lion, and the lion is terrorized. And the ringmaster gives him an indication. What? Jump. If you jump, and if the lion jumps, he gets a small piece of meat. This is how the lion is treated. So this is how the lust is to be treated. That's what Krishna is saying. Let us first see the purport. So Prabhupada is saying, the enemy has captured the different strategic position in the body of the conditioned soul. And therefore, Lord Krishna is giving hints to those places, so that one who wants to conquer the enemy may know where he can be found. So this lust is like a lion. What does the lion do in the jungle? He is the king, undisputed king. Mind is the center of all the activities of the senses. And thus, when we hear about sense objects, as we discussed, the sense objects, what are the sense objects? What are the sense objects? बोलो, अभी डिस्कस किया हमने. Yeah. Sound, smell, touch, taste, form. When we hear about sense objects, the mind generally becomes a reservoir of all ideas of sense gratification. So how the desire comes in the mind? Through the sense objects. Where is the stimulation coming from? From the sense objects. So the sense objects will agitate the mind. Next, the intelligence department becomes the capital of such lustful propensities. And what is inflicted next is intelligence. So what intelligence will do? Intelligence will try to fulfill the desire which is coming from the mind. And how this stimulation in mind has come? From the sense objects, from the senses. So you see how the progression is happening, or how this is being triggered, how the stimulation is happening. From the sense object, the senses are agitated. From the senses, the mind is agitated. And from the mind, the intelligence is influenced. See, this is. That is what Krishna is also explaining. See the verse very clearly. Indriyani mano buddhir asya adhishthanam uchyate. So how it is beginning? What is the moot point? What is the triggering point? What is the beginning point? The senses. When the sense object comes in contact with the senses. Intelligence is the immediate next door neighbor of the spirit soul. So what the intelligence does when it is affected by lust? Intelligence in connection with the false ego, it makes one understand that he is this body or he is this mind. How do we identify ourselves? Either with the body or at the most with our mind. So what is how it happens? Because of the lust which is there in the intelligence. Lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire a false ego and identify itself with matter, and thus with the mind and senses. The spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness. This is what the entire world is under this impression only. So what is the impression? Where is this impression coming from? Lust. Lust. Intelligence in connection with the false ego. Prabhupada is saying, identify with matter. And what is the matter? Mind and senses. And the spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness. This false identification of the spirit soul is very nicely explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we see the principles are given in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is giving the principle. What is the principle Krishna is giving here? That how lust is most dangerous. How lust is our biggest enemy because it covers our jnana. So many times Krishna is speaking in so many verses. Every verse he is saying, Jnanam Avritya. The next verse he says, Jnana Vijnana Nashanam. Previous verse he says, Jnanino Nitya Verina. Continuously Krishna is saying, what is the greatest enemy of the living entity? That which covers his knowledge. Which knowledge? Is transcendental knowledge. Knowledge about spirit soul. So that knowledge which we are trying to revive or realize is being covered by our enemy, which is in the form of lust. So when the lust rules the capital, which is the intelligence, what we do, we think ourselves as product of this material world. We disassociate ourselves with spirit. We do not accept ourselves as spirit soul. So this false identification of the spirit soul is, what is this false identification? So Srimad Bhagavatam explains the principles which are given in Bhagavad Gita. If we have understood the principles of Bhagavad Gita, then only we should enter into Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, we will not understand what is happening. Like one who has not completed graduation, he wants to do PhD. Somebody has passed 10th and he says, I will do PhD. Even if he comes and sits for the classes of PhD, what will be his understanding? Can he get a grasp? Can he understand anything? You cannot understand. So it is very important to know the principles. All the principles, the spiritual principles are given in Bhagavad Gita. And it is further detailed in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam says, Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke swadi kalatradi shubham ijjati yattirtha buddhi salilena karhichit janeshu abhigneshu saeva gokara. Very strong words. It says that Yasyatma buddhi. Buddhi, we are talking about intelligence. What kind of intelligence? Lusty intelligence. When the lust has covered the real identity, when we have failed to identify ourselves as spirit soul. So, yasyatma buddhi unupe tridhatuke. Once whose intelligence is thinking that the self, atma means the self. But when the intelligence is not able to identify himself as atma, but what he identifies, unupe tridhatuke, with the body. And the body is made of three dhatus. You know, what are the three dhatus which made the body? Kapha, Vata, and Pitta. Isn't it? What is this body composed of? If you see in Ayurveda, they only say there are the three components in the body, which is Kapha, Vata, and Pitta. So when one thinks he is this body, and what is the body consisting of? Kapha, Vata, and Pitta. So what he will identify himself with, he is identifying himself with body. And what he thinks, Swadhi, this body. And Kalatra Adishu, what are the byproducts of the body? His children, his family, his wife. And also he thinks that his identity is with them, isn't it? So what person identifies himself with? His body and his family members, or his friends, or his society. And what he thinks? Bham Ichadhi. Bham means the place of birth. Ijja means where it is born. So he is identifying himself. That is why some people write their name from where they belong. Their identity is where? Their birthplace. So such people who identify with themselves with the body, or who identify themselves with the extended body, which is in the form of family, friends, society, or the place of birth. So such people with such lusty intelligence or such poor fund of intelligence, even such people, if they go to a tirtha, yat tirtha buddhi, they go to with such thought process, they even go to tirtha. Tirtha is a place of pilgrimage. And what they do? Salile. Salile means to take snan. Normally people go to pilgrimage, what do they do? They will take bath and they will take darshan. And they will come back. So what these people will do, they will go and take bath in the river. So such people are Janeshu. Janeshu means one who knows. Abhigneshu means one who completely does not know. He thinks he knows, but actually he does not know. Abhigneshu means he knows nothing. He is completely incognito. He has no cognizance. And his intelligence is compared to what? Sa eva go. Go means cow. And khara means ass. So what is this intelligence compared to? Go khara. See, a human being who identifies his body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsman, that is family, his children, his wife, his brothers, his cousins, his relatives, and so on and so forth, who considers the land of birth worshipable, and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to take bath, rather than to meet the men of transcendental knowledge. So please try to understand what Krishna is again and again repeating in this chapter, in this section of solution Krishna is giving. What is to be revived is that knowledge. How can you win over lust? Is by being situated in knowledge. So one who goes to the places of pilgrimage, rather than to meet a man of transcendental knowledge there, is to be considered like an ass or a cow. So very, strong words of condemnation, that coming in this human form of life and remaining by consciousness like that of an animal. And what kind of animal? Like cow and an ass. Is ass considered to be a good animal? If we want to say someone is having no intelligence, so what do we say? Ye to gadha hai. Hai na? What does gadha means? He has no intelligence. So lust, what it does, it makes a fool out of us. Or rather, going by this word, it makes a ass out of us. It makes the living entity become an ass. What does the ass do? It carries so much of load on his back. You have seen an ass? Prabhupada says it is a humble beast of burden. Beast of burden. It carries load, no? It carries the load of the washerman. And why it carries the load of the washerman? Because he thinks that if he does not carry the load of the washerman will not give him grass to eat. Yeah. But is that the right conception? Is that the reality? He can find grass anywhere. Does he need to carry the load? So similarly, human life is not meant for working hard like an ass. Human life is meant for self-realization. Realizing that we are not this body. We are not this mind. We are spirit soul. Our energy, our endeavor, our effort, and our aspiration should be in this direction. Otherwise, we are completely misdirected. Prayena alpayu sabhya kalau asmin yuge jana manda sumanda mateo manda bhagya hi upadrita. So in this age of Kali, the age that we are in, Prayena alpayu sabhya, everyone is short-lived, isn't it? What is the maximum lifespan? Not even 100 years. It is even less than 100 years. And what is the influence of Kali? Kali yasmin yuge jana. And what are the characteristics of people in Kali? they are always quarreling. Isn't it? Quarrel. One dissension. Difference. Isn't it? Very difficult for even 2% to go along. That is why, as you see, the modern technology or the gadgets have come in. There is no friendship. There is no companionship. There is no trust and relationship now. Why? Because everyone has his own aspiration, different aspiration. So there is quarrel, isn't it? Even between friends, there is quarrel. Even between father and son, there is quarrel. Even between husband and wife, there is quarrel. You know what is the divorce rate now? Very high. Very, very high. And those who are somehow avoiding divorce, still they have so much dissension. So it is quarrel. They're bandha. And people are in this age lazy. Where are they lazy? In self-realization. Any effort is being made? You people are making some effort. So you are very exceptional soul. Very few. Out of how many? IERI will be having more than 1,000 students. Right? More than 1,000 students in IERI. How many will come for the class? Even if 10 comes, it is a great success. Even if 10 come, it's a great success. Believe me, previously when I used to come, there used to be only 2, 3. Likes of Dolamani and Manish and 1 or 2 more. No one is interested. Why? Because they are interested in what? Swadhi kalatradishu. They are interested in only in bodily pleasures. So there is manda. Manda means they are lazy. And not only they are lazy, they are sumanda. They are also crazy. Crazy after sense gratification. Lust. Lust has made them crazy. And manda bhagya. They are unfortunate. Why unfortunate? Because they have the opportunity in this human form of life to win over lust, but they are not at all attempting. They are unfortunate. And always disturbed. Manda bhagya hi upadrita. Upadrav, you know upadrav. Upadrav means disturbance. You are seeing all around the world, there is so much disturbance. Russia is disturbed with Ukraine. Pakistan was always disturbing India. Now unable to disturb India. So disturbance is within Pakistan. So they will keep fighting. Some, dissension, some quarrel, some disturbance would be there. Everywhere. You have so many times I give the example. We have United Nations. Isn't it? So what is happening with United Nations? Are the nations becoming united? When United Nations was formed in 1945, there were not even 50 countries. And now how many countries? More than 150 countries. This is the mission of United Nations. So similarly, human life is completely going waste. So what we have to do, we have to take the direction from the Supreme Lord, who is giving us the direction of knowing who is our formidable enemy. Our enemy is not someone who, criticizes us, but somebody who does not give us the opportunity for sense gratification. Our enemy is this lust, which is again and again pushing us to understand that we are this body and making us come in the material existence and suffer. This is our greatest enemy, Krishna is saying, telling Arjuna, please wake up. Your enemy is not just outside, your enemy is inside. And then Krishna gives the solution. I'll take the next verse also. So from here, Krishna gives the solution. So far, Krishna was giving the diagnosis of who the enemy is and to what extent it has impacted. What is the impact? What is the control? Complete takeover. But even in this stage, when there is a complete control of the lust, what we can do? We can win over the lust. That is why Arjuna's question is sanguine. Sanguine. Sanguine means buoyant, optimistic, hopeful. Why? Because Krishna will give the solution now. Tasmat tvam indriyani ado niyamya bharata rishabha papamanam prajahiyena jnana vijnana nashanam. Tasmat tvam. Tasmat means therefore. Tasmat also means conclusion. So now Krishna has given the revelation of what this enemy is, and now Krishna is now giving the solution. Krishna is giving the ammunition how to win over this enemy. He says how to begin Adav. Where to begin from? Indriyani Adav. My dear Arjuna, where you have to begin to conquer the lust? From your senses. Why? Because senses you can still control, isn't it? Like my eyes, I can close. If I close my eyes, do I see? No. But can you stop the mind from thinking? Can you stop the mind from thinking? No. Even when the senses are inert, like when we sleep, isn't it? So in sleep also, what do we see? Dreams. What is working? Mind is working. Can you make the mind to go to sleep? Very difficult. I ask students why they wake up so late, particularly in IAR. So they have one common problem, and that problem has persisted for ages. I tell them that please sleep in time. Try to sleep by 10, 11. Prabhuji, 12 बजे के पहले तो कभी नींद ही नहीं आती. I cannot get sleep before 12. Why? Because the mind is very active, hyperactive. It does not allow you to sleep. Even if you go to bed, what happens? The mind is hyperactive. And for us, as soon as we go to bed, by the time we switch off the light, we are asleep. It is just like switching off. And when it is 3 o'clock in the morning, they switch on automatically. But for you, if there is 1 alarm, 2 alarm, 10 alarm, nothing will work. Nothing will work. Yeah? So that is the strength of mind. Already Krishna has already explained the mind in the, okay, he will explain in the 6th chapter. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. It is the nature of the mind to always be flickering. And it is pramathi. We will discuss mind when we come on the 6th chapter. So now we are discussing lust. So Krishna is saying, where do you begin? Supposingly, you have to meet the Prime Minister. And you have to get the work order done for you. Say, supposingly, you want an extension in your PhD. So who is the one who is sanctioning it? The director of the Agriculture Ministry or your dean of the institute itself. So can you go to the dean directly and tell him, sir, I have my application, please sign it. What he will do? He will tear it and throw it in the dustbin, get lost. Can you approach him like this? So how do you approach? First you will go to guide, and guide will take you to head of the department, isn't it? That is the protocol. And from the head of the department, the letter can go to the dean or the director. Because it has been sanctioned by both, then you stand a chance. Otherwise, it will be rejected. So similarly, the mind is more stronger than the senses. When we will come in the next verse, we will explain, we will discuss that even more. Yeah. And intelligence is even more deeper. That is how the subtle body is. Gross body we see, but subtle body we don't see. So what is the subtle body? Is comprising of mind, is comprising of intelligence and false ego. So senses are gross. We can see the eye, isn't it? We see the organ eye, we see the organ nose, we see the organ tongue, through which this sense objects are experienced. But do we see the mind? From where the desires are coming or flowing? No, we don't see. So what we have to do, Krishna is telling that Indriyani Ado. Ado means the beginning, where you have to start from the senses. And how to start? Niyam ya Bharata Rishabha. Niyam ya means to regulate. What Prabhupada writes? Yes, regulative. So control means to regulate. If you have to control something, like I gave you the example of lion, isn't it? How was the lion captured? Huh? Regulated him. Huh? It did not give him the food. Drained all his energy. Isn't it? So senses are very, very strong and impetuous. In the second chapter, Krishna has already said, Indriyani pramathini haranti prasabha mana. Senses are very strong. But how to curb the senses? By regulating them, controlling them. One of the most effective way of controlling the senses is sleep in time and wake up in time. It is a very effective way of treating lust. And those who do not do it, there is no chance in their life to ever be able to be free from the influence of lust. Every day the lust will increase. It cannot be checked. Very effective way is sleeping habit and wake up habit. You have heard from childhood, early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. But as we grow up, as we have written independence, we just reverse everything. Late to sleep and late to rise. Late to sleep and never to rise. Health is also God. Huh? And there is no wisdom. It is not wise. But anyway, we still subscribe. Why? Because of lust. So Krishna is saying that you begin by regulating the senses. And what the regulating of the senses, what will happen is, Pap manam prajahienam. See, again and again Krishna is warning us. Beware of lust. Don't leave it. Like fire. Krishna has already explained that it is like fire. Kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena analena cha. Lust is compared to fire in the 39th verse. So if there is fire and if you leave the fire, if you don't terminate the fire, what will be the result? It will finish everything off. It will bring everything to dust. So Krishna is saying, Papmanam prajahiyenam. This is the great destroyer. This great symbol of sin, regulating by senses, and slay this destroyer. Why? Because it is jnana vijnana nashanam. Neither you can have knowledge, nor it will allow you to have any realization. That is why after practicing so many years also, people are saying we don't have realization. That sense gratification is dangerous. Why? Because lust is taken over the intelligence. How you will have realization? Knowledge will not convert into realization. It will remain in the book. It has not entered the heart because the heart is captured by lust. So how to regulate? By regulating the senses. See, therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharata, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of lust by regulating the senses. When we tell people to regulate the senses, they feel हमारे ऊपर क्या dictator बन गए? भाई कृष्ण बता रहे हैं किसको जीतना है? You have to win over the lion, which is ferocious. Otherwise, what he will do? He will devour you. And slay this destroyer. Krishna is not saying that leave this destroyer. Krishna is saying slay this destroyer. Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita before even one arrow was shot. Before Arjuna slayed anyone, what Krishna made Arjuna slay? Lust. Yeah, Krishna is saying, slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Because without having self-realization, Arjuna could not have participated in the battle. And what is the greatest stumbling block in self-realization? Is lust. How to curb the lust? Regulate. Wake up. Everything should be. See, what is the difference between human life and animal life? What is the basic difference between human life and animal life? Please think. Give little vichar. Vichar Shakti is there. Krishna has given the humans the Shakti, the potency for discerning. Discerning, you understand, na? To make discrimination. So what is the difference between humans and animals? Huh? Discipline. Animal, do they have any discipline? Huh? They can have, see, animals and humans all have 4 activities common: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But in humans, all these 4 things are regulated. And in animals, there is no regulation. There is no provision for any regulation. And if humans also start to behave like animals without regulation, then where is the difference? So Krishna is saying, slay this enemy. Slay का मतलब क्या है? मार दो, छोड़ो मत, क्योंकि शत्रु को छोड़ दिया तो वो क्या करेगा? आपको मार देगा. बोले छोड़ो मत, मार डालो इसको. कैसे मारना है? इंद्रिया नियम्य. So those who are not sending sadhana card, what they are doing? They are feeding. They are fueling the fuel of lust. Why? Because regulation. क्या regulation है? What time wake up? What time sleep? How many rounds counted? What hearing? What reading? क्या कर रहे हैं? अपने senses को, अपने mind को, अपने intelligence को किससे भर रहे हैं? Spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge अंदर जाएगी तो lust क्या होगा? निकलेगा, बाहर आना पड़ेगा. और अगर स्पिरिचुअल नॉलेज जा ही नहीं रहा है, स्पिरिचुअल कंटेंट है ही नहीं, स्पिरिचुअल कंसेप्शन है ही नहीं, तो कौन गवर्न करेगा? लस्ट. और लस्ट क्या करेगा? आत्मा का हनन. इसलिए कृष्ण कह रहे हैं, स्ले दिस डिस्ट्रॉयर ऑफ नॉलेज एंड सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन. द लॉर्ड एडवाइज्ड अर्जुना टू रेगुलेट द सेंसेस फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग, so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroys the urge for self-realization. This is the reason why it is the greatest enemy. And in today's world, no one is interested in self-realization and specific knowledge of the self. Jnana refers to knowledge of self as distinguished from non-self. What is non-self? What is non-self? Prabhupada, in a very poetic way, he presents. What is the non-self? We just discussed. What is the non-self? Body, very good. Non-self is, Atma is the body. Yasyatma buddhi unupetri dhatu. अभी हमने डिस्कस किया. स्वधि कलत्रादिषु भौम इज्यधि. अगर हम ये सोच रहे हैं तो वो हम सेल्फ हैं क्या? नहीं है ना. तो दिस इज अंडर इल्यूजन, दिस इज अंडर इग्नोरेंस. So Gyan refers to knowledge as distinguished from the non-self, or in other words, knowledge that the spirit soul is not the body. And Vigyan refers to specific knowledge of the spirit soul's constitutional position and his relationship with the supreme soul. So Vigyan is what? Vigyan is realization. So when one comes to the platform, the first level of realization or self-realization is Aham Brahmasmi. You've heard? Aham Brahmasmi. That I am the spirit soul. Okay? But that is not the perfection. That is the beginning. And what is Vijnana? Vijnana is realization of that knowledge. So what is that? That is more advanced stage. So that is that when one knows that what is the constitutional position of the spirit soul. What is the constitutional position of the spirit soul? It is eternal. First thing. Body is temporary. It will take birth and die. But I have nothing to do. I have nothing to lament. Because I am not this body. I am eternal soul. Then if I am eternal soul, what is my relation? With whom I have relation? What is my connection? When Brahmaji was born, the most intelligent person in this universe. So this is the question he asked. Who am I? लेकिन हम कभी पूछते हैं हम कौन है? नहीं, क्योंकि हमको पता है हम कौन है. क्या पता है कि मैं ये शरीर हूँ, मैं शरीर का स्वामी हूँ और शरीर से आई विल एंजॉय. दिस वर्ल्ड इज मेड फॉर माई एंजॉयमेंट. So Vigyan refers to specific knowledge of the spirit soul's constitutional position and his relationship with the Supreme Soul. It is explained thus in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada is quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam also. Jnanam param guhyam me yad vijnana samanvitam sa rahasyam tadangam cha grahana gaditam maya. So the knowledge of the self and the Supreme Self is very confidential. मोस्ट कॉन्फिडेंशियल. ये नॉलेज अगर दी भी जाती है तो समझ में नहीं आती. आती है समझ में? नहीं आती, ऊपर से चली जाती है. क्योंकि क्या है ये, इसके लिए क्या चाहिए? प्यूरिटी. प्यूरिटी. कितनी भी इंटेलिजेंस लेके आई है, किसी का IQ क्या होगा? 100 होगा, तो भी वो स्पिरिट सोल का एक आयोटा भी नहीं समझ सकती. समझ सकता है? नहीं समझ सकता. Why? Because this is very confidential, Huyam, and it is very mysterious. But such knowledge and specific realization can be understood if explained with the various aspects by the Lord himself. From where we can understand? We can understand only from the Supreme Lord and his representatives. No one else. Bhagavad Gita gives us the general and specific knowledge of the self. तो सबसे पहले भगवान ने अर्जुन को कौन सा ज्ञान दिया? आत्मज्ञान. सेकंड चैप्टर आप उठाएंगे तो भगवान ने सबसे पहले क्या दिया? आत्मज्ञान. 11 नंबर वर्स से लेके 30 नंबर वर्स तक. हाँ, ऑलमोस्ट 22 वर्सेस में भगवान ने ये आत्मा और शरीर, डिफरेंस बिटवीन बॉडी एंड द सेल्फ, यही एक्सप्लेन किया. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and therefore they are simply meant to serve the Lord. So this is the purpose of creation. The purpose of creation is not eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That is for animals. Self-realization means that we establish our relation with the Supreme Lord, and how that is to be established? Through the medium of service. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So from the very beginning of life, one has to learn this Krishna consciousness, and thereby one may become fully Krishna conscious and act accordingly. So this is the original constitutional position of every living entity who is eternal. But because lust is only the perverted reflection of the love of God, which is natural for every living entity, but now it is covered. It is perverted. Perverted का मतलब समझते हैं, which is turned upside down. But if educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, this natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. So this training is required, this education is required, this culture is required. India means India is a place of Vedic culture. What is our greatest asset? What is our greatest resource? Technology. It is cheap, it is useless. What can you do with technology? What is the satisfaction of the heart with technology? Is there any satisfaction of the heart? We were reading that when Narad Muni was giving the discourse to Vyasadeva, he said that perfection means satisfaction of the heart. And there cannot be any perfection without there is the satisfaction of the heart. And satisfaction of the heart cannot be ascertained by anything which is material. Why? Because the heart is spiritual. Inside the heart is what? The self, Atma, which is spiritual. So what is required? Required is the transformation, conversion. What which is upside down, it has to be straightened up. How? Through the medium of knowledge and education. So it requires training. It requires education. And from where to begin? When to begin? From the very beginning of life. हमारा तो कितना साल बीत गया? कितना साल बीत गया? 25-30 साल बीत गया, ये एजुकेशन, ये ट्रेनिंग मिला, अभी मिल रहा है, अब ले लो. बेटर लेट देन नेवर. When love of Godhead deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to the normal condition. Like example is given. You have milk. Milk is very nourishing. But if the milk comes in touch with tamarind, what it happens? It becomes curd. Can you get the curd back to milk? You try any scientific way. You try whatever. You see how nature works. It is milk which converts into yogurt. What do you say? Alkaline process. Huh? Acidic or alkaline, whatever you say. So then you add some chemical to de-alkaline or de-acidify. Is it possible? No, it cannot be done. So Prabhupada is saying that when love of God deteriorates into lust, that means lust means when we want to keep ourselves in the center and we want to enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord. That is what everyone is saying. Who is God? Where is God? Who has seen God? Who knows where God exists? Have you seen the spirit soul? Have you seen your Atma? No, that means you are not Atma. Who says Atma is there? Then what is the difference between dead person and a living person? The person who is dead, his body is there, all the organs are there, isn't it? So why is he dead? What is the difference? What has left? Atma. But Atma, have you seen Atma? Have you ever experienced Atma? So our seeing is believing is very childish. Very childish. Because subtle things we cannot see from the gross eyes. We cannot even see our mind. Have you seen your mind? Have you seen our intelligence? That means there is no mind, there is no intelligence. So with this soul, there is super soul. And how to know it? Through the Shastras. How can we see God? Through Shastra. Vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. Utkramantam sitam vapim bhunjanan va gunanvitam. Vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. Which verse is this? This is from the 15th chapter. And it is the 10th verse. Yes, 15th chapter, 10th verse. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So where to get this vision? To be able to see the Atma? Through the scriptures. Through the study of scriptures. Nowhere else. Nowhere else can you know about Atma. This is what Krishna is explaining here. That what the lust does, it covers the intelligence. It covers the knowledge. So when the love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. But if one follows the regulative principles, what is it? Niyam. Indriyani adav niyam. By following the regulative principles. What is the regulative principle? How it begins? First step is no meat eating. You want to eat? Eat. But don't kill. Don't eat someone else. People also sometimes argue, Are, you are saying that we kill animals, but don't you take vegetables? Don't you eat fruits? Don't you take grains? But if you pluck the fruit, does the plant get killed? Can it not give more fruits? We don't kill. So it's very important. The first regulative principle is to have daya, mercy. The second is truthfulness, satya. And what is the regulative principles? Not to do gambling, cheating, or speculation, or misrepresentation. So not to take any means of earning where there is cheating. The person who is cheating, can he speak the truth? Like you go to the shopkeeper, बोलो क्या भाव है? He will say, what this time the vegetables are very expensive. If you ask how much is the green vegetable, he will say 100 rupees kg. Isn't it? You ask him, it is very expensive. He said, इतने में ही खरीदा है, 10 रुपए कम में खरीदा है. Is he speaking the right? Is he speaking the truth? No, speaking lies. Isn't it? So everyone in his profession, what he is doing some cheating. One who is doing cheating, he will be cheated by lust. He is cheated by lust. So no cheating. And the most formidable form of cheating is gambling. Gambling. That is why Krishna wanted to teach this lesson. So Pandavas, they agreed for gamble. And what happened? They lost everything. Lost everything. Gamble means what? They are thinking that with very little effort, I can have maximum return or maximum. It will never happen. Whatever you have, you will lose. And now it is very dangerous. ये मोबाइल फोन तो और ही डेंजरस है क्योंकि इसी मोबाइल में बहुत सारा ऑनलाइन गेमिंग है. आपके पास जो थोड़ा बहुत है वो भी खींच लेंगे आप. सब निचोड़ लेंगे, नोच लेंगे, पता भी नहीं चलेगा. So very important is following the regulative principles of devotional service. The first 4 regulative principles is no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex. Very important. Very, very important. Sex is natural between man and woman, but it has to be within the institution of marriage. Otherwise, animal, there is marriage. There is no marriage. So now this is the advancement of human race. They don't want to get married. Why? Marriage means commitment. Isn't it? Marriage का मतलब क्या है? Commitment है. Marriage means that there is some responsibility. And man has become as irresponsible as an animal. And no intoxication. Intoxication means liquor, cigarette, anything which stimulates more our senses, which makes us go out of control. Even we don't take tea and coffee. So these are the 4 basic regulative principles. So Krishna is saying, begin with here. If you have to control lust, if you have to capture the king, that is like the roaring lion, lust. So you begin with regulating the senses. So from any stage of life or from any time of understanding, it's urgency. But who will be able to do it? One who has the understanding its urgency. If you see that your house is on fire, so how much is the urgency to terminate the fire? कितनी urgency होगी? क्या करोगे? You will make all effort. You will try. You will not only make your trial, you will make everybody come with you. You will call your neighbors, you will call your friends. Everybody, please terminate the fire. So that urgency means awakening. One who is completely covered by lust, he will not awaken. He will sleep. कितनी भी क्या जल्दी है, अभी तो मेरी उम्र 30 ही साल हुई है, 50 साल तक जीने दो, उसके बाद देखेंगे लस्ट को कैसे देखना है. कुछ कर सकते हैं? कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो प्रभुपाद जी इसलिए बोल रहे हैं फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग, और यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं फ्रॉम द टाइम ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग इट्स अर्जेंसी. One can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness. Who can regulate? Who has understood the urgency. Who is not able to regulate? Who has not understood the urgency. He is still thinking, I can still play with fire and the fire will not burn me. So what will happen to such a person? He'll be burned. He cannot be saved then. Can you save a man? Such a person who's playing with fire. One can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life. दो तीन stories थी, लेकिन stories बोलने के लिए time नहीं बचा, अगली बार बताएंगे. Real stories कि lust का इतना बड़ा offer, इतना बड़ा proposal, those who are in practicing Krishna consciousness, they were not influenced. Lust could not touch them or impact them. That I will discuss next time. Okay. So here Krishna is telling our most formidable enemy is lust. Why? Because it covers our jnana, vijnana, nashana. It covers the urgency for self-realization. And how one has to begin regulating or controlling? By regulating the senses. We have to regulate what we eat. We have to regulate what we speak. We have to regulate what we see. All the 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Sound. Not we hear anything and everything garbage. Because garbage goes in, what will be the result? It will have the impact. It will pollute our consciousness. It will fuel the lust. What we taste, we don't take anything from the tongue which is not Krishna Prasad. Why? Because it will fuel the lust. Very important. Regulation. Beginning, tasmat tvam indriyani adu. How? Niyam your we regulated. Regulation. And how regulation is to be done? We saw in the 30th verse. What was the 30th verse? Prabhupada said this is the verse which gives the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Like military discipline. 330. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि संन्यास अध्यात्म तेजसा निराशी निर्ममो भूत्वा युगत्स्व विगत ज्वरा. Military discipline means no laziness. Can you be lazy? Military, there is a drill in the morning. Can somebody sleep? क्या होगा? उसको कोर्ट मार्शल हो जाएगा. वो अगर एक्सरसाइज के लिए नहीं आया तो क्या होगा? उसको छोड़ दिया जाएगा. He will be punished. So either we control our senses or we will be controlled by lust. Choice and option is yours. Everyone has freedom. Whether you want to remain the slave of your lust or you want to tame the lust. Choice is yours. Hare Krishna. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. कोई प्रश्न है या संशय है तो पूछिए. No, they cannot be. See, control means to regulate them. You cannot make the senses become inert. Till the time the soul is there, you cannot be inactive. You getting the point? It is like saying, I give you some very practical example. Like a child is there. Child is there, na? Bachcha dekha hai na? What does the child do? He is very active, hyperactive. What you have to do? You have to give him some engagement. Isn't it? So what we have to do? We have to regulate the senses by not allowing these senses come in contact and stimulation with the sense of it. How we have to do? We have to engage the senses in Krishna's service. What Prabhupada is speaking many times. We have to purify the senses. There are 2 processes. People try, that is the impersonal way of trying to negate the senses. It will never be successful. So many yogis tried. They were going in the forest and doing tapasya. And what happened? Menka came, Urvashi came. What happened to their tapasya? Finish. You cannot win the senses like this. You have to purify the senses. How do you purify the senses? Engage the senses in Krishna's service. Sat paratvena nirmalam. The senses have to be made nirmal. Mal, you understand? Contamination. What is the contamination? Lust. How to remove the lust? Engage the senses in Krishna's service. Krishna is Rishikesh. He is the master and controller of the senses. He will control the senses. When? Those stories I will tell you next. They were in the midst of the most alluring and, influencing position, but they were unaffected. I'll give you example of Hanumanji. Prabhupada gave example of Hanumanji. Hanumanji went to find Mother Sita. Where? In Lanka. And where was he searching? Anyone who has read Valmiki Ramayana? He went in the dead of night inside the palace of Ravana. Because he was searching where is Mother Sita. And there were so many sundaris. And in the dead of night, half naked. But was he affected? He was not affected. Why? Because he was on the mission of Lord Ram. Anyone else there is no chance for him. Lust would have captured him. How Hanuman was not affected? Because his senses were engaged in Ram's service. Where there is Ram, there cannot be calm. So this is the technique Krishna is giving. But if we don't agree to what Krishna is giving us, what will happen? Lust will conquer us. Not only conquer us, that will kill us. That is why Krishna is saying, slay this enemy. And if you don't slay, the enemy will slay you. We are slain life after life, birth after birth. And we are so foolish that even in this birth, we still don't understand the urgency. So only those who have understood the urgency, they can only make a sincere effort. Others will still, चलेगा, देखेंगे, मुझे तो लस्ट दिख नहीं रहा, दिख रहा है क्या? दिख रहा है? नहीं दिख रहा है, लेकिन उसका प्रभाव है, influence है. You cannot make the senses inactive. That means dead. Till the time the soul is there, it cannot be dead. Soul means action, activity. So what we have to do, we have to purify these senses by giving it proper engagement. This devotional service. What is devotional service? How do we perform devotional service? By our senses. We go to Mangal Aarti, we sing, we dance, we hear, we see the beauty of the Lord. What are we doing? How are we participating? Through the senses, through the mind, through the intelligence. So we have to purify. We have to engage the senses. Like we are studying Bhagavad Gita, we are engaging our intelligence in understanding the principle which Krishna is giving. Very purifying. Krishna is saying, one who studies Bhagavad Gita, he is worshipping me by my intelligence. Next verse Krishna will speak. Intelligence is much higher than senses and mind. So we have to engage. If we engage in the right way, we will be purified. Then automatically there will be disengagement from lust. If we do not have proper engagement, what we will do? Have you heard or not? An empty mind is a... And what is that devil? What is that devil? Lust. So we have to have proper engagement. What is the proper engagement? Every day we must have the schedule of devotional service and practice. And if we don't have, then only lust will do. Life after life, we will become victim of lust. It's very important. So regulation starts from sleeping in time, waking up in time. What you are doing? You are curbing lust. Lust will say, no, I am the master. I am the king. I will decide when I will sleep. When I will wake up. मैं चाहे ये करूं, मैं चाहे वो करूं. Listen that song is there. मेरी मर्जी. अरे मर्जी तेरी नहीं है, तुम्हारे मालिक की है. Lust. He is ruling you, and we are so foolish we cannot detect. So, human life means a life of discipline, a life of regulation. We are not controlled by lust. So there should be time for every activity. You should have a foolproof timetable. As a student, this much is my study time. In a day out of 24 hours, minimum 8 to 10 hours should be your study time. If you are not studying for 8 to 10 hours, then what you are doing? You are not performing your dharma, your duty. Still, there is a lot of time. If you spend 10 hours of study, how much hours are left? 14 hours. Maximum 7 hours to the body. Sleeping, bathing, evacuating, brushing. But हमारा कोई लाइफ का कोई टाइम टेबल ही नहीं है. क्या किसी ने बनाया? कितना हमारा स्टडी टाइम है, कितना हमारा मतलब बॉडी पे टाइम है. बोलते हैं स्पिरिचुअल प्रैक्टिस के लिए टाइम नहीं है. कैसे नहीं है? किसके पास 24 घंटा नहीं है? किसी के पास है जिसके पास 22 ही घंटा है? Is there anyone who does not have 24 hours? But we are steep in ignorance. We don't realize. Sufficient time, abundant time. We learn from our devotees. They are living examples in between you. But still we never go and consult them. We never ask them that, sir, please help me. Why? Because lust. It will not allow you. It will come. Krishna will speak when the final he gives. He says how you can conquer the lust. He says starting with regulation and ultimately by deliberate spiritual intelligence. We will discuss what is deliberate spiritual intelligence. That means intelligence which is coming from our superiors, spiritual persons. With their intelligence, we can capture lust. Not with our intelligence. जब आपको अपना पीएचडी करना होता है तो अपने एफर्ट से खाली कर लेते हैं क्या? किसका चाहिए आपको? स्पेशल ब्लेसिंग, राइट का. उसके बिना होगा नहीं. उतना प्रयास करिए, मैं ये बुक ले लूंगा, मैं वो बुक ले लूंगा, मैं ये थीसिस देख लूंगा, मैं वो थीसिस देख लूंगा. देखते रहो. Very important, please try to accept what Krishna is speaking. In nutshell, what is important? That we are not fooled by lust and we accept the solution given by Krishna. Start to regulate. At least start by regulating. You should have fixed time of study. जब स्टडी का टाइम है तो मोबाइल फोन बंद कर दो. बंद कर दो. क्योंकि आप जैसे ही पढ़ने बैठोगे इसमें टू टांग होनी शुरू हो जाएगी, तो पढ़ने नहीं देगा. अभी तो सबसे बड़ा लस्ट का सिंबल है हमारा मोबाइल फोन, है या नहीं? सबसे बड़ा लस्ट का कैरियर है मोबाइल फोन. किसी और की जरूरत ही नहीं है. ये एक अकेला काफी है आपको पूरी तरीके से धराशायी करने के लिए. बंद करो. पढ़ो 10 घंटे अच्छे से पढ़ो. बनो ना, कुछ अच्छे साइंटिस्ट बनो, कुछ योगदान करो, कुछ मतलब रेवोल्यूशन लाओ. कंट्री का जो एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूसर्स को बढ़ाओ. जैसे जैसे कलयुग बढ़ेगा सबसे ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट किसमें आएगा? फूड प्राइसेस में. आ ही गया है, पूरे वर्ल्ड में आ गया. प्रोडक्टिविटी घटती जाएगी. क्यों? क्योंकि पाप बढ़ रहा है. जैसे जैसे सिन विल इंक्रीज, द प्रोडक्टिविटी विल गो डाउन and prices will go up. That is, perform your duty. That is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Perform your duty. You should study. Study for 10 hours. शेड्यूल बनाइए अपना. 24 आवर्स का मैंने कई बार बताया स्टूडेंट्स को. मुझे आज तक एक भी नहीं मिला जो लिख के लाया कि यस प्रभु जी ये 24 आवर्स का मेरा ये शेड्यूल है. इस 6 hours I am sleeping और 8 hours I am sleeping. 4 hours I am gossiping or on my mobile phone. कोई देखना ही नहीं चाहता. They don't want to open their eyes. Then what to do? बनाओ आप 24 घंटे का अपना शेड्यूल एक वीक में. देखो आपके पास कितना टाइम वेस्ट करते हैं. हम एक ही चीज में एक्सपर्ट है, वेस्टिंग टाइम एंड वेस्टिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी. And then we are crying we don't have time. So please wake up. Krishna is saying this wake up will not happen because the lust is there. So please start by regulating. Okay. So I am just, requesting you. I am also trying, but I can see the benefit. I can see the advantage. So please accept what Krishna is saying. And if you don't accept, then it is up to you. But lust will not leave you. Lust will not spare us. Hare Krishna.